What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking the best values in fantasy football at every single position. So basically, we'll go from quarterback to running back, wide receiver, all the way to tight end, and tell you the guys that we think are being the most undervalued, the guys that we have a lot higher in our own personal rankings with the best chance to outproduce their expectations, their projections, and to potentially be league-winning type of talents. So with that being said, if you guys enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, let us hear it in the comments section if you agree, disagree, or your personal favorite values at these positions. And if you want to see more in-detailed breakdowns like this, well, get yourself a copy of the 2021 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide. Not only does it have top 150 overall player rankings in standard and PPR formats, also player bios, projections, tiers, but there's breakout bust candidates along with general fantasy advice. All the details in the description. All you have to do is go to alldaypigskin.com. And with that being said, let's get right into it. And as you can see, we have got here the Fantasy Pros average draft position list pulled up for all of these guys, starting at quarterback. What we'll be able to do is look at the positional rankings from platform to platform and see how that averages out, kind of get an idea of where these guys are being drafted, how they are being valued. And like I said, starting at quarterback, the guy that I want to highlight here is Lamar Jackson. Now, no question about it, Lamar Jackson was disappointing in 2020. But we caution you guys, don't go into 2020 just automatically expecting MVP performance from Jackson again. The offense could take a step back. Passing-wise, he still has room to grow. But what has changed from 2020 to 2021? First and foremost, the Baltimore offense has added plenty of weapons. And this, in fact, is the best receiving group that Lamar Jackson has ever had. They added Sammy Watkins, Rashad Bateman, Wallace, Marquise Brown still there, hopefully improving a little bit. Mark Andrews, J.K. Dobbins, along with Gus Edwards as well. And the offense has said that they're probably going to try and add some more passing work to Lamar Jackson's list of duties. And the great thing about Lamar Jackson is we already know that he has the highest rushing upside out of any quarterback. The best chance to get 1,000 rushing yards on the ground at the quarterback position is absolutely priceless. That's why he has such a high floor and a high ceiling. In fact, he's had 2 back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing seasons. And look, even if he doesn't get 1,000 yards rushing, that's all right. He's still very well. I would say probably his floor is around 800 yards rushing. And that's all right because if that kind of swaps and he gets, close to 4,000 yards passing or even above that, Lamar Jackson is going to be almost without a doubt the top scoring fantasy football quarterback for 2021. And the best thing, I haven't even gotten to this, for Lamar Jackson this season is the recency bias of the disappointment from last year. Kind of finishing around that 10th quarterback overall mark, very disappointing, but that means now you can get him at a discount. And here, yes, it's still worthy, but you can see that some of these places have him ranked all over the place. Sure, as high as number 4, which is where we currently have him ranked, but, we wouldn't argue if you have him ranked 3rd overall, something like that. The point being is, right now, overall, he comes into the 5th overall quarterback. That means, the 5th overall quarterback, ADP-wise, usually depending on the size of your leagues, but let's say, 10 or 12 team league, is going to be going in the 5th, maybe even 6th round. And I've seen that. I've seen that more often than not with Lamar Jackson, that he's there at the end of the 5th round, which is absolutely incredible value. Forget about Patrick Mahomes. He's the hot name. He's going to go in the 2nd round. That is absolutely too steep of a price to pay. Same with Josh Allen, a little bit after Patrick Mahomes, probably Kyler Murray as well, in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. You can get Lamar Jackson maybe a round or 2 afterwards with the same type of upside. This guy, just because he had one down year, doesn't mean all of a sudden he is not fantasy, viable. This is when you want to capitalize on quarterbacks. when either they haven't broken out yet or they're coming off a disappointing season, but they have a proven track record. And Lamar Jackson definitely has that. And you compare him to the other quarterbacks after this, he has by far and away the highest ceiling out of any of them, whether it's Prescott, whether it's Wilson, Herbert, Rodgers, Brady, etc., because of what he can do with his legs. There's going to be some other guys that are a little bit sexier. Maybe people are in on Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers coming off an MVP, Dak Prescott coming back from injury, that Lamar Jackson might be kind of a forgotten name. So just take our advice. We think we're going to see much more of Lamar Jackson 2019 version than what we saw last season. And if that is the case, then you're absolutely looking at a league winner. But with that being said, now looking at the running back position, and here we honestly have a ton of candidates. You guys know how we feel about Austin Eckler. We absolutely love him, but we want to go a little bit further down the list, all the way to the 20th overall running back, and that is Chris Carson of the Seattle Seahawks. Again, it was close between him and Austin Eckler, but when looking at these ADPs, and I should mention, we're looking at it from a PPR standpoint, well, Carson could potentially be much higher on this list. I would say as much as a difference of probably plus or minus, or I should say plus 10 spots ahead of this, because I have him as a borderline top 10 running back. And that's the great thing here, because it seems like every single season, Chris Carson is being slept on. But honestly, he's the guy in Seattle. The Seahawks, they pretty much said no thank you to the Rashad Penny experience. They're not picking up his, rookie option. So it's Chris Carson. The guy is a physical, stout running back that can get the dirty yards, the hard-fought yards, over 1,000 yards rushing. He's also a good standard type of running back. But he's also an underrated pass-catching running back as well. Can get you between probably 35 to 50 catches on the season. Obviously, if he stays healthy, that's, the question with all of these guys, whoever it is. But the great thing about Chris Carson, again, you look at where he's being ranked, the 20th overall running back. So to put that in kind of big picture wise, he's ranked behind James Robinson, behind Miles Sanders, behind J.K. Dobbins, a much more one-dimensional running back. He's got similar type of upside. He's much better dual threat wise as a pass catcher than some of these one-dimensional guys. That's what we love about him. In terms of ADP, where you might see him go, well, he's probably going to be going after the end of the third round. I wouldn't say that that's too crazy. Now, again, you're going to see some of these ADPs change once we get closer to August and September, and it's possible that people have come around yet again to Chris Carson and are saying, okay, he should probably be an early third round selection, maybe even an end of the second round type of selection. But with Chris Carson, we've, again, seen him with all the mock drafts that we've done be there at the end of the third round, be there at the start or middle of the fourth round, and that is tremendous value. The guy absolutely has RB1 upside, and the fact that you can get that type of talent at the end of the third round even, beginning to middle of the fourth round, that is absolutely a steal. Again, there's a lot of other guys here that we can touch on. Like I said, Austin Eckler, but he's much more, I would say, well-known, and people are a lot more, not only us, but in on him this season. So I wanted to bring up a name that, maybe isn't getting enough love. And it seems like every single season that's the case with Chris Carson. Again, there's some guys lower down on this list that I also like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire to have a bounce back season. But Chris Carson is the one that stands out to me in terms of being like the safest option and also having steady performances. He's on a good offense where he is featured that does like to be run heavy at times. So for that reason, we think Chris Carson is a great value. But now let's shift our attention to wide receiver. And here we're going to scroll down quite a bit because this is a guy that honestly, I have no idea why he is being criminally undervalued. And I've been saying this since I don't know when, but Antonio Brown of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's just look at some of the names that he is behind. So, for example, starting all the way up here, probably about 10 plus spots higher, Jarvis Landry, Brendan Cooks, Robbie Anderson, Deebo Samuel, Will Fuller, who's going to be suspended again, playing with Tua, Marquise Brown, who hasn't really ever done anything, T.Y. Hilton, who pretty old, Devontae Parker, who has a ton of competition at wide receiver in Miami, Curtis Samuel on a new team in Washington, Jamar Chase, rookie, Marvin Jones playing with a rookie quarterback, Jerry Jeudy playing with no quarterback, Michael Pittman, who should probably also be higher, and then Antonio Brown. And the reason I have been shouting about Antonio Brown, why you have seen me queue him up and draft him in pretty much every single mock draft 2 months ago, 3 months ago, is because when we learned that he was likely returning to Tampa Bay, and then when it became official, Antonio Brown became the best value on that team, bar none. Make no mistake about it, because let's quickly scroll all the way up to where we see Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Well, Mike Evans, 14th overall, which, by the way, too high. Chris Godwin, 19th overall. Okay, probably a little bit too low, but somewhere in between there. Probably 17th, 18th, or maybe even, again, 19th, 20th is where we should be looking at these guys. And honestly here, when it comes to Antonio Brown, regardless, whether it's standard scoring or PPR scoring, he should be drafted right alongside Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So no matter, just forget about where you have Evans and Godwin ranked. I will say Evans should be a little bit higher in standard scoring. Godwin should be a little bit higher in PPR scoring. But at the end of the day, they should pretty much be drafted only a couple of spots, one right after the other. But the key here is Antonio Brown should also be only a couple of spots right after the other. Whereas here, he's ranked, Chris Godwin is the lowest, the second lowest ranked Tampa Bay wide receiver at 19. Antonio Brown all the way at 46, almost 30 spots lower. In terms of ADP, that's probably going to translate to 3, 4, 5 rounds afterwards. Now, again, I think some of the more savvy fantasy football players are going to be in on Antonio Brown because he's on a great offense where when all those guys are healthy, this is the thing. On their own, none of them are a wide receiver one. So let's get that out of the way. If you're viewing Evans or Godwin as that, first of all, that's your first mistake. The thing is, though, they are all pretty much low-end to mid-level wide receiver twos. So when that's the case, why wouldn't you get the least expensive option of those? And Antonio Brown is by far that. He has the exact same upside as those guys. He's got a relationship with Tom Brady. He gets targets. He's still got the big playability. He's probably has a higher reception ceiling than a Mike Evans in PPR scoring. We love everything about Antonio Brown. Now, sure, if his ADP somehow skyrockets 4 or 5 rounds between now and August, we'll be singing a different tune. And keep in mind that Antonio Brown's ADP was even lower than this at one point in time. But again, people are kind of coming around to that. We have Antonio Brown ranked right outside, right on the verge of a top 20 wide receiver. That's honestly right where you guys should have him as well. Wherever you have Godwin and Evans, slot Antonio Brown at most a couple of spots lower than that. This is a guy that you should be drafting in all formats, no matter what. Take advantage of this insane discount while you can. Yes, there's going to be some ups and downs, but if you're wasting a pick, which is what you're essentially doing in the early rounds in the third round for Mike Evans or Chris Godwin, why not target another position at that point in time and then just get the exact same player in the 7th, 8th, 9th round in Antonio Brown, which is exactly what we will be doing. And then finally, going to tight end. This is where, again, we have got a lot of options. You know how we feel about TJ Hawkinson. We absolutely love him. And we debated whether he should be the guy that we highlight here in terms of the Darren Waller breakout for 2021. But again, he's here at number 5. Some people have him ranked a little bit higher as well. And the thing is, we have him ranked 4th overall, so not that much of a difference. So instead, what we're going to focus on here is one Jared Cook. And you see he is all the way down to number 20 on this list. Jared Cook is absolutely a forgotten name in terms of tight ends this season. Now, yes, don't get us wrong. He does not have tier one upside. If the guy that you want to target there at a great value is a tier one type of talent, that's TJ Hawkinson. We mentioned that already. He's going to command pretty much all the targets in Detroit. Jared Goff can still get him the football. Okay, so there's your little 2-in-1. We did a little extra bang for your buck at the tight end position if you want to get another higher end type of tight end. TJ Hawkinson, we beat that drum so much. So again, just giving you a little bit of a freebie here. But if you're looking lower and lower down that list and you're looking for some serious upside on a sleeper, Jared Cook very well could be the answer. And the reason for that is obviously, first and foremost, Hunter Henry no longer with the Chargers. Jared Cook, yes, albeit he is not the long-term solution in LA, but guess what? Short-term, just for 2021, all signs point towards him being just the direct replacement for Hunter Henry. And what does that equate to? Well, that equates to a borderline top 10 tight end. And again, if Hunter Henry stays healthy for the entirety of the season, pretty much any given season, he probably would be a top 10 tight end. And the great thing about the Chargers is that Justin Herbert is there now. He absolutely airs it out. So high receiving, high reception, high yardage upside for every single one of those guys there. And sure, I get it. We're going to be focusing on the sexier names. Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler. They're the two pass catchers that are going to get the majority of the volume. But afterwards, look, stop all this Mike Williams talk. We've been talking about Mike Williams for the last 5 years, whatever it's been. The guy hasn't been able to break out. He just doesn't get enough volume. Jared Cook, though, if you could get that similar type of production that you do from Mike Williams at the tight end position in Jared Cook, which is very viable because Hunter Henry was essentially the third best, at least most reliable pass catching option on that offense last season. Jared Cook should not be the 20th overall ranked tight end. We think he should be, again, probably a lot closer to CBS's rankings, and that is 12th overall, right around that range. We absolutely love Jared Cook this season. People are absolutely sleeping on him. Yes, he disappointed last season in New Orleans, but that was because there was so much quarterback instability that all those options, took a hit. Now, going to LA on a pass-happy team with a quarterback that's still young, that's going to look for that safety blanket in an experienced vet in Jared Cook, where he won't have all that much competition at the tight end position. Look, he's going to take that Hunter Henry role and probably get you 50, 60, even maybe a little bit higher than that in terms of receptions on the year, utilized in the red zone if we judge by Hunter Henry as well. We love Jared Cook. The guy, he's an afterthought in drafts. He's not even being drafted in some mocks that have done going undrafted. You can get him in double-digit rounds. Absolutely no worries. If you're looking for a flyer and you like to wait very late on the tight end position, Jared Cook should be the guy that you are targeting. We love his upside, and nobody is talking about him enough. So just do yourself an advantage. Take a flyer on him. It will cost you nothing. That is the beauty of it with Jared Cook. So with that, we wrap up this discussion in terms of best value fantasy players at every single position. And as always, let us hear it in the comment section. Did you agree, disagree? Are there other guys that you would put on this list? I'm sure there are. Let me hear them. Always love the discussions. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe. And again, check out the website, alldaypigskin.com, to get yourself a copy of the 2021 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide. All the details in the description at a great price. And finally, give us a follow on Twitter at alldaypigskin to continue interacting with us there. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.